Hi, Ray Terry here, host of About Your House Radio, every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. on WFNZ. That's 610 a.m. and 102.5 FM. Every Saturday morning, we throw you good information. We're doing Podcast 2 from Crash Studios, 5940 Monroe Road, your full-service audio, video, and photography studio. I have to write this down and get it right the first time. We don't have a lot of time to waste here. This show, I'm going to, one, talk about tools in schools and talk about the tools that we've talked about on the program. We're doing this little segment every Saturday about a toolbox, things people need at home to fix stuff with. Remember, most people below the age of 40 never had great exposure to tools. So what I'm trying to do, or we're trying to do, is expose you to tools you might need around your house. After all, it's expensive to call a plumber, electrician, or a handyman. And who knows what they're doing today? Stupid has become a serious disease. I know people don't like when I say that, but hey, every day I have to deal with this. We're going to fix it. Put tools in schools. Let me bring you up to date on really what Put Tools in School is all about. It's nothing more than a campaign to make people aware of the big problems. Kids, and I've told you on Podcast 1, kids to me is anybody below 40. You know, and I want to introduce you to somebody, my co-host on About Your House Radio. She's been on there now for 6 to 8 months. I don't know, but she's a great addition. Love her dearly. She's passionate. 38-year-old female here. And I say that because I wanted a female less than 40 years old on the show that knew of the situations that exist with people below 40 in households. So I want to introduce you to Walker Spurl.
Thank you very much. And I would say I know a little something about knowing nothing about tools. So thank you for bringing me on to the show.
Walker also, you know, like most of us, we all live somewhere. We all have issues in our home. About Your House, the radio show every Saturday morning is about just that, things you need to know. I know a little bit about everything and a lot about some things, but I know tools. I've been working with tools since I was a kid, and I love them. They're toys to me. But so we're aware of what the campaign and Put Tools in Schools is about, but let's take it a little further. I need industry to get involved. One, you can support the radio show, because without the radio show, we don't have the platform to bring professionals on and talk about what we talk about, right? So industry's got to get on board with this. And all we're doing right now is gathering information. You're the information. I'll give you a great example. The Rock, Recovering Opportunities in Construction, a new trade school. First year of operation is this year. They're on an on-site campus out at Philip O'Berry. You could call it Harding Technical Institute. I don't know what name it carries. But anyway, right across the street from the new school, you have the Philip O'Berry campus. And they're in the back of that doing classes and doing a great job, I might add. And as soon as the campus opens, these kids are going to go across the street and attend the new school. Okay. When they put all this together, you have to have an instructor, right? You've got to have a teacher. Well, my old buddy Steve Coyer, literally the head of CPCC's Institute of Construction Technology, is leading the class. In other words, he's teaching the class. Why would that be? Folks, we got a problem. Where do you find the instructors? And I'll tell you this maybe 10 times, because after a while it might sink into the enormity of the problem we all are facing with a lack of education in the trades. So, Steve Coyer's teaching it. That was the point. Where are we going to get instructors? Industry has to step up. Okay. So now, Put Tools in Schools. We're going to, every Saturday, first hour of the show, we're going to bring you up to date on what's going on, because the information out there is a bit fragmented. As Walker, you found out, haven't you?
It is not easy to get an answer.
No, it's not. But we're going to work harder on that. But there again, please support About Your House, because if you can give us the support, hey, you can call me, email me, text me. I don't care. If you've got information that we can use and you want to help, we're here. AboutYourHouseRadio.com. Let's move forward. I'm going to talk about the cold weather real quick, okay? And we're going to do another podcast about the cold weather and what you can do, hands-on, actual putting one of these on. As cold weather enters, well, you can feel cold outside through your weather stripping, but one of the largest heat transfers, thermal transfers in your house is your disappearing stairway. It's up high, you don't feel it, out of sight, out of mind, but what's funny is in the dead of winter when it gets real cold, Walker, you got one of these situations, don't you?
It is incredible how much cold air and hot air moves through that small space that I can't even see in my attic.
See, here's the issue. If there's a crack around your disappearing stairway, that's what we're talking about here. A fold-down disappearing stairway. If you're feeling a draft in your hallway, it's the crack around that disappearing stairway that's creating that draft. Actually, every time your furnace comes on, you create a negative pressure, therefore sucking air through that hole right to your air return, costing you big bucks and not giving you the comfort you need. You're always feeling this draft. And folks, the attic tent. Here you go right here. I think we're on camera there. Now, that's been in my warehouse, and this is a sample attic tent, obviously, because it's itty-bitty. Okay? This is an itty-bitty attic tent for itty-bitty holes and itty-bitty people. Enough about the itty-bitty. Okay, what this does is staple, obviously, to the floor in your attic, and then you'll caulk that seal right there to give a good air seal, okay? And then if you'll notice, people say, well, how do you get through this? Let's flip it over like you're standing on the ground looking up. There's zippers right there, zippers. It zips, unzips. There you go. Unzips the other side. Okay. Flaps back. Crawl up and do your business. Come on back down. Zip that puppy up. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. You lose 80% of your thermal exchange in your house through air. Your disappearing stairway, unbelievable airflow goes through those cracks. Excuse me. Some of the cracks are wider than others. Depends on your house. But anyway, I want to throw this at you. And why? It's getting cold outside. That's your energy dollars. This is a big, big money saver and comfort creator. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that for now. We're going to do a podcast specifically how to install one of these a little later on. So you stay tuned.
And right next to my attic is the intake to my furnace.
Air return.
And so it's pulling that air directly into the furnace and conditioning that air. So it's having to work that much harder to get the air up to what the temperature is in your house rather than pulling that air from your house. So it is a real disadvantage.
Yep, big time. And it costs a lot of money, believe it or not. My old buddy Will Bumgarner, the director of Crash Studios here, for years I'd go in his hallway and he's got these big old gaps. And he says, my gosh, this is terrible. And I said, well, we need to put an attic tent in. We put an attic tent, folks, and I'm going to tell you, he was so elated. It minimized, it eliminated the problem. Drafts go away. Like I say, 80% of your thermal exchange in your house is through air. When I say air, I'm talking leaks, holes in your house. There's a lot of holes in your house. We'll talk about that in a future program. And by the way, the whole idea of these podcasts, not to be lengthy, but to just throw out information that you need as a homeowner. Now, let's move to tools. You want to?
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, we've talked about a few tools on the show 4 or 5 weeks now. I can't count. At any rate, the first important tool we mentioned is this thing. This thing. It's called a measuring tape. That is probably the most important tool anybody should have in their toolbox or tool drawer. You know, most houses have a drawer in their house in the kitchen. Everybody throws tools in. Oh, it's in the drawer. And you go to that drawer. Everybody's got a drawer, right? I mean, I've been in houses. Where's your drawer? They look at me and say, what are you talking about? Your tool drawer. Oh, that. And they'll show me. Everybody's got one. If you don't, because you don't have no tools. Got to have tools. Anyway, measuring tape. This right here represents the 3rd grade. Yep. Multiplication and division. That's what it's all about. This is a very important tool. And one little tidbit I'm going to throw, what you should use this for. When you go buy appliances this day and era, currently, when you go buy appliances, measure the area that you're going to install the appliance in before you go buy the appliance. You'll save yourself a lot of aggravation. And if you're buying a refrigerator, make sure you measure the height from the floor to the bottom of the cabinet before you go buy that refrigerator. Folks, save you a lot of stress if you do these kind of things. Now, if you don't know how to read a measuring tape, another day, another time, we'll talk about that. And people laugh, but I've asked a lot of people that question under 40. A lot of them don't know the answer. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's a measuring tape. And, they come in varied lengths. Itty-bitty ones and real long ones. 25 feet is as long as I'll buy as a carpenter, and then you buy a heavy-duty one. Why? Because you can stick that rascal out a long way before it falls. Let's see how, there we go. Little under 8 feet. See, there you go. You know what I mean? All right. That's why I get the widest one, because it does the job. Okay. Second tool, obviously, a hammer. Come on, everybody needs a hammer. If for nothing else, get mad and go out and beat a tree, okay? Take out that anger. But no, seriously, everybody needs a hammer. But you know what most people don't know? How many size hammers can you buy? Lord of mercy, in the picture behind us, that's a masonry hammer. That's for laying brick. A bricklayer, masonry, would use that hammer. This is a carpentry standard 16-ounce curved claw hammer. Your standard everyday hammer, right? They make a 14-ounce for putting trim work in. But regardless, you need a hammer in your toolbox. My recommendation, the old trusty 16-ounce claw hammer. Works for a lot of things. Okay, that's good. I talked about plumbing. Every house has plumbing in it, surely. And if you don't, well, you don't have to have this tool, promise you. But these tools are channel locks. If you're going to do minor plumbing repair, and I said minor because you don't want to do heavy-duty plumbing repair because you don't know what you're doing. And you're not a plumber. You're not a plumber. Excuse that. Something fell in the background. But these are channel locks. These are channel locks. And why? There's a channel there. Don't buy cheap tools. Do not buy cheap tools, especially cheap channel locks. 3 sizes you see here, right? 3 sizes. I like 2 at least in my toolbox, but these itty-bitty ones are very handy to have, and I recommend them highly.
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you're here, by the way.
So what about the tools that claim that you can do all the things?
They're pretty good. For example, this will kind of answer your question.
Okay.
This is a universal screwdriver.
Okay.
You buy it about $10. You buy it. It's got different interchanging heads. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, I love this thing. It's handy because you can go in a house with one tool that does many different things. Now, granted, there are a lot of different tips you can buy now. Torque tips, square tips, little square tips.
Yeah.
They're all over the place now. But this is a good universal. You said number 2 Phillips and a number 2 straight. Now, number 2 is the size of the head, okay? So, there again, Now we got channel locks, hammer, tape measure, screwdriver. This screwdriver has all the tips you'd want. A general all-purpose screwdriver. Wow. How neat is that? $10 or less.
Otherwise, you need which one? So you need the Phillips head and the flat head.
You need them all.
And how many sizes? Two sizes.
A number 1 and a number 2, and they're both there.
Done and done.
That's right. That's why I recommend this to homeowners. It's a real good thing. Really is. And it's not that expensive to replace after your kids get it and use it for a toy and lose it.
And it takes up less space in your tool drawer.
That's right. And now, we asked this, 2 or 3 weeks back, a pry bar. This is a good general all-purpose pry bar. It's good for so darn many things. You can pry with it. You can beat, chisel with it. You can do all kinds of neat and groovy things with your pry bar. You can, I don't want to go there. It could be an anger issue tool as well, but we're not going to talk about that. No. But anyway, you can level your refrigerator. You know how your refrigerator's out of level sometimes? You can put that on the foot and use it as a lever. Okay? You can use that as a lever. I mean, a nail puller. There's just so many things you can use this for, and I do use it. Matter of fact, whenever I go on a roof to put a roof damper on, I've got to have this tool because this tool gets up under the shingles, finds my flat-headed nails, pulls them out so I can pull the shingle up, put the damper on and the flashing under the shingle the way it's supposed to be, and it's a great tool. Great tool. Everybody needs one. Promise you. They're very handy. All right.
When you do that, when you work on the roof,
yes.
Are you able to reuse the nails that you pull up?
Yes, you can if you use one of these.
Right. Okay.
But sometimes they're bent due to the way they put them in, but rarely. But yes, I do, in fact, sometimes use the nails over. You know, since you mentioned that, I've got to cover something that happened this week. I don't know what it is about all of us folks in America. We think new is better. New. Like when you take an old pigtail off a relatively new range, A pigtail is the cord. Typically, the new cords are 4-pronged. Well, if I'm throwing away a range and it's got a cord on it, why would I throw away the cord? Why? Because it's old? There's nothing wrong with it. Why would you throw it away? They only cost $20. I mean, geez, let's replace it. You get my point? Crazy. But the homeowner insisted he wanted a new one. Okay, we put a new one on. I don't understand it. But anyway, that goes on all the time. Folks, things can be reused and repurposed, okay?
And throwing them away is not the option.
No, not at all. But anyway, I wanted to cover that. All right, let's get back to the toolbox.
Yep.
All right, this is a combination square. Combination square. You can do a straight cut, a 90-degree cut, or a 45-degree cut, like a picture frame. If you're real good with a saw, you could do that, but you got to be real good with a saw. Regardless, that's a square. Every house needs a square. Every one of them. I forgot a tool today, but let me tell you about it anyway. Everybody knows what a little glass vial with a bubble in it is. It's a level, although this has been broken and the fluids come out of it, but a level. A 2-foot level is another tool everyone needs in their house. That's a level. Got a little water bubble in it, water vial with a bubble, keeps you level. It could be used to hang pictures. A lot of people use them to hang doors. Levels are a fantastic tool to have in your toolbox. A 2-foot level is one that every house should have. And I'm a little secret, a little torpedo level. They're 1 foot long. Little torpedo level. They're great to have on hand as well to pictures and various things you may want to make sure they're level and look right. Okay?
Do the laser levels work?
They are fantastic.
Oh.
Laser levels are absolutely phenomenal tools.
Great.
I've used many through the years. They're normally used in bigger situations, and you can literally put a laser line around the room and come off of it up and down to make sure everything's level. Wow. So, yeah, they're very great tool.
Cool.
I wouldn't recommend going out and spending that kind of money just to have one, although there's some men out there that like toys, and that's a good toy if you want to buy one.
Hey, that's not a man thing. Let's just say there's some people out there who like toys.
And that's another reason that I'd like to see tools in schools, because there's a lot of brilliant women, females out there that are very curious about tools and the way they work and what they do, and I think it's fantastic. I personally want to see a lot more women in construction, but we'll see. It's going to take some time. And not that women can't do it. It's just notoriously it's been a male-driven industry. Okay, moving on. This, you know what this is?
I have no clue.
It's called a basin wrench, used in plumbing. You know those little nuts that hold your faucet on, your sink, that's way up there in the cabinet under the sink? That's what you use it for, okay? Yeah, and this one's, and what are you looking for? What do you think's so funny about that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, if you got under, the faucet on your sink, folks, okay?
Yes.
You can take that off, believe it or not. It's not made into the sink. You can remove it and replace it. Well, in order to do that, they bolt those suckers on from underneath on the water stems, basically.
Where you're actually turning them on and off is how
most
it's in
of the time.
there.
Yeah, somewhere they're bolted in or
right.
nutted in or whatever. This is a tool that you can reach up there and undo it to take it off, or tighten it when you put it back on. Now, it's also used as a water valve turner-oner. You like that? You like that?
Like out in your yard?
Very good. If your water, you need to cut your water off real quick, this is a tool that does a great job. You know, they normally have those T-handles. This works just as well. Used it this morning to turn my water on because my landlord had cut it off because there was a leak in the building. What's that all about? Anyway, I went and cut it back on with my trusty basin wrench. This one is adjustable. They don't all come adjustable. Okay, you can buy a short one. Why would you do that? It's not long. You may need more length. Someone gave me one 2 weeks ago, and I says, I can't do anything with this. Not long enough. Anyway, basin wrench. And yes, this is a tool I'd recommend that be in every household. I really would. But take care of it. It's not cheap.
And being able to turn your water off is of high value.
Sure it is.
In case there's a leak or something inside your home,
Mm-hmm.
you can go out and turn off the water leading into your home.
Which brings up another fact every homeowner should know, every one of them, and that is know how to cut your water off. Know it. Because when an accident happens, it's a little too late to be scrambling around trying to find it. And also, know where your main power supply, okay? All right, enough said about that. All right, now we're going to introduce the new tool this week. And there it is, folks. Every household should have one of these. I went and bought this one today because it's pretty and it's shiny. No scratches, no caulking, no paint, no nothing. All clean and pretty. This is called a 5-in-1. It's a scraper. It's a groove tool. In other words, when you need, like, you're caulking a bathtub, you know, the corners, and you want to get all the caulking out, there it is right there. That's what it's for. Okay? There's so many purposes. That little blade right there, little portion right there, is great to open paint cans. Great to open paint cans, okay? But most of all, this can save you a lot of money in paint. Have you ever finished a paint job where you just didn't have, but you just needed a little bit more paint? Well, let me show you about this thing. If you know what this is, paint roller. Now, not every toolbox needs a paint roller, but if you're painting and you're a DIY guy, do it yourself, you're going to use one of these more than likely. It's paint roller, 9-inch. They make them wider, but it doesn't matter. Okay, this thing gets full of paint, right? You finished your room, you want to clean up. Well, if you'll take this, put this down in your pan or bucket or whatever you're feeding from, and take this little round part right here and literally rake the paint right out of your roller. Do you know that, Walker?
No.
You literally rake the paint right out of the roller.
That would save so much paint.
Not only saves paint, it makes this roller clean up much easier.
Yeah, a lot
but
less
most
water.
homeowners, what do? They take this thing and throw it away. Right. Or put it in the freezer because we're going to come back tomorrow. Where did that mess come from? Anyway, clean it. And that's a great tool. Now, these are versions of this, in a way. They're small putty knives. Yes, you need putty knives in your toolbox. What size? Go out and get one when you need it. You'll figure it out. And I say that lightly, but you're going to add tools to your toolbox. Now, that about does it for this podcast. I wanted to introduce you to Walker. She's on the show every Saturday with me. She adds a great dynamic to the show, and I'm grateful she's with us because she just brings some really interesting things to the table that I won't, because I take a lot of this for granted, folks, but coming from a 38-year-old female who doesn't know much, and I don't say that critically or I'm not meaning any disrespect.
Okay. So to bring it up, you reference often 40 and under.
Yeah.
And to bring that into awareness is that's when tools were taken out of schools. That's when they literally stopped teaching shop class.
It was about 40 years ago when it all started. Yeah.
So I did not have the experience of a shop class in school. I did have experience with tools, but not in school.
Sure.
But there are other people my age who did have that experience. But what we know is that it is not being utilized in schools now.
No.
And that is a huge problem because people need to know how to fix their own things. People need to know how to use their brains to put things together and take things apart and put them back together again.
The biggest thing we're finding, honestly, folks, in our whole culture is creativity is lacking. Kids don't know how to be creative anymore because they literally don't know how to interact hands to brain. Now, I'm not here to bash education, but something's missing. Even doctors coming on board in surgery have a hard time with their dexterity in sewing, stitches, and various things. And it's because we've lost familiarity, pardon my French on that, with tools as kids. We're not as familiar with them as we once were. So put tools in schools. Somehow industry's got to step up and make a difference, make a change. We need to do it collectively. So let's work on it together. About Your House Radio, please support us. Tune in every Saturday morning, 6:10 a.m., 102.5 FM from 8 to 11 a.m. We're going to bring you up to date on what kids are doing in this area and programs that are happening, Good stuff. So let's put tools in schools. Let's make kids happy. And in the meantime, we're going to be back to you here at Crash Studios, 5940 Monroe Road. Full service audio, video, photography studio. Great stuff. Give them a call. Will Bumgarner, director and producer. Thank you, Walker, for coming in today and sitting with me. And she'll be back. I'll be back. We'll do more of these. Thanks, folks. We're out.